So you're trying to figure out how you're going to replace your PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation. I'll show you how step by step. I'm doing this on a 2013 Grand Caravan with a 3.6 liter Pentastar. It also works for Town and Country and probably the older Volkswagen Rotans. So take the little cover off the top of the engine there. It's basically just for noise. You see the little pieces that they clip into. 4 little fingers there. Just pop it off. I'll give you step-by-step titled chapters in this video as well. Now this valve is on the driver's side. You follow this little hose. It goes down and around and it stops right there. And it plugs into our valve that we're trying to replace. A little bit tricky to get at. There's some wires in the way that you're probably going to want to move. There's 2 torque screws that go into it that we're going to have to remove to get it out. So I guess one of the first things we can do is maybe figure out what do we need to unhook. So there's one big harness and it's got a whole bunch of wires on it, so we're going to undo those first. So this in our air intake, you push it, it's a little clip, and once you push it, I'll show you from the inside of it. It's got a little finger that goes up and down and releases it. Here, I'll try and show you just a little better. The rest of them are like that too. Now this one doesn't have a red clip that it acts as a safety lock. Chrysler seems to have these on everything. But I guess, you don't want the clips coming out by accident. So this one we need to move it back. The big piece comes out. And you can try all sorts of things. I find if it's going to give you a hard time, push it from this side. But turn your screwdriver sideways and give it a slight push there. What it does is it unlocks it, so now you can squeeze that tab and that locking piece will pop out. Now it's probably unlocked, but you might have to force it with something as well. Well, you don't want to, maybe I shouldn't use the word force because you don't want to break it. But you might have to persuade it to move a little bit. As long as you know that it's unlocked and you've pressed that tab open, there are some anchors here that you'll also want to take off. They're sitting on this aluminum housing, and it's just holding the whole harness, the wiring harness, in place. It's held in, it's almost like a U that's clamped around there, so it's a top and bottom piece. There you go, it came off. There's another one just over a little bit. We've got another sensor we have to unplug. If we can unhook that safety and get it to move a little bit. Once it moves far enough, we can press the tab and it should unlock. These are always fun. And of course, not too much space to work in. Maybe if the screwdriver was on an angle, that might work. Maybe a pick tool might work. I've got it unlocked, but it's just the dirt and that has made it kind of binding. So door panel tool I'm using to get this little clip out here. We're just about have the access to it. These are pretty hard to mix up as to where they go later on. They only fit one spot each. Oh, there's another one of those little clips at the very back. So I'm going to try and push the back, push the front. There we go. It popped up. You want to be gentle though, you don't want to break them. And if we can move this whole wiring harness and this vacuum line out of the way, I'll move you down to the side here. Now there's this big hose, and it's stuck on pretty good. I tried twisting it, so I'm using my door panel tool again. Put a link in the description for this door panel tool. I use this exact one on just about everything and anything I'm working on. Seems to be in pretty much every video for some reason. It's a good little tool. It's got the right angle, it's got the 2 little fingers on it. Of course, this is plugged in, the hose is plugged into a plastic piece. It's some kind of a composite plastic, so you don't want to break anything. I got the one side off. Now, if you follow it all the way down, it's hooked on the other side there, but there's a wire in the way as well. So, safest thing instead of breaking the wire is unhooking this too. So I tried persuading this to come out, slip it under the wire. The wire is also held down with, there's a bolt, and the wiring harness just clips onto the top of the bolt. It's a nice little anchor there. If I can just pop it up a little bit, you'll see what I'm talking about. Just pull up on it a little bit now, but not break the wire. And you might be able to get it out now, or you can just unplug this other sensor too. I was hoping it was going to come out this way, and it's stuck there pretty good. Seems to want to twist a little bit, but it just doesn't want to come off this valve. Fun. I did a little bit more twisting. I thought I could persuade it. Without unhooking one more wire. And does it work? Spoiler alert, not really, but you can try. Like it twists, it turns, why won't it come up? I guess the engineers built it so that it wouldn't accidentally come off. Oh, I did get it out here. Spoiler alert, we're gonna have to take that connector off to put it back in. But there it is. This plastic piece is your PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. A lot of times they'll say PCV valve, but it's positive crankcase ventilation valve. Well, yeah, it works. One more wiring harness anchor. That's on another bolt here. It just clicks on there, a plastic piece. That'll give us a little more room. Yeah, see, it's still, I should have just taken this off at the start. Got one of those little anchors there too. A lock, I guess is what it is. If you can move it just out far enough. Sometimes they'll pop out, so try not to lose it. You'll notice, there it went. It just went far enough now. If we can, oh, there it came out, just like I said it would. Squeeze this piece down. We'll be able to put it back together after. Squeeze and pull. Easier said than done. You may want to try and push it down with the screwdriver or the screwdriver handle and pull at the same time. I think what I'm going to have to do is like with the other ones, I have to push down and get my screwdriver in somehow in there and just pry just gently to get it to move. You know, this has already been on here for almost 10 years, so they've never been taken off. So of course they're going to be, with heat and that, who knows, they could have deformed a little bit the shape. Now, are we going to get this out or not? Is there a bolt on top or a screw, I guess, and the screw at the very bottom too. I'll show you another one with it off. You can see this one at the top and one at the bottom on these. And that bottom one is pretty hard to see, pretty hard to get at. A lot of it's going to be by feel. It's a T20 Torx bit. I'm using a screwdriver for that. You can also get little Torx bits for the end of a ratchet, like for your socket set. Maybe I'll try and put a link in the description there as well. This T20 is used a lot on these vans. Now this bottom one is, like I say, very hard to reach. Not only is it hard to reach, it's very easy to drop onto the engine in the back there somewhere and lose it. So you don't want to do that. We'll just skip forward ahead a little bit, speed it up. And I've loosened it, and I'm going to try and drop it into my fingers. And amazingly enough, I didn't lose this one. I've done these before where they fall, and you're pretty lucky if you can find it. You can always use a magnet or something in there. You know, it's a Torx screw. I'm going to do the top one now. Same thing. These aren't super tight, and when we put them back on, the fit, they just say to snug them up, make them nice and snug without breaking them. It is going into a plastic piece as well. Now you just give it a wiggle, and there you go, it falls out. Got some oil in it. I really think it should have oil in it, but if it shakes and it rattles, it's supposed to still be good, but there's so much oil in there, it's like, let's put another one in already. They do want you to do them every 100,000 miles, I think. So here's a new one. And you can see it's nice and clean. Weren't very much money. I'll put a link in the description as well. For one, just make sure it fits your year of vehicle. Now, I was trying to put this on, and it's like, why won't it pop in? It popped off pretty good. I thought, oh, I'm going to just turn it around until it fits in there. It's not fitting properly. So if you're having this problem, it's possible that the old gasket is still on there, and that's what happened with this one. The old valve came off, but the gasket stayed on there, and it's so hard to see. It's way in the back. It's kind of dark, and it's like it just won't go close enough. So I took it off, and it's like what's going on here? I got a double gasket. The old gasket from the old one, plus see there's a new one around the news piece. Just take a look at yours and you'll know for sure. You take the old one off, make sure there's a rubber gasket. Just see it there? It goes around. So once I did that, it's like, wow, what a difference. That's what it looks like. This fits to seal it up. I'm trying to mix these up. It's going to be pretty hard to mix up. One's nice and shiny and dry, and the other one's wet and oily. So the part of your hose going on is going to face up.
Oh, there
And that one just snapped right in. It's like, wow. And I can see it's fitting good compared to with that double gasket. Again, it was so hard to see. So I'm going to try and thread the first screw in the top here. Was it easy to get in there? Not bad. The bottom one I had more trouble with because this thing just kind of, it fits in and it can kind of spin a little bit to try and get the screws in there. So I'm just going to, I wouldn't even snug this one up. Try and get your bottom one in. You might need two hands. And the screwdriver is going to have to go between all these hoses to our right. You might have to pull them up a little bit. You don't want to disturb them too much because they're coolant hoses. Some of these actually break fairly easily. If you ever have a coolant leak, it could be to the very right here. We see there's three hoses there. So I'm going to snug it up. That's the torque spec. Snug. So with a screwdriver, I'm just making it just as tight as I can with one hand. You can see it from the bottom here, this other one. And you can see how the hoses are in the way. Might have to use two hands again to position it in there and hold it there. There we go. Now it's just reverse the whole procedure. And for some reason I thought, oh, I could just put this connector back on so that I don't forget it. Not a good idea. Should have just left it off. You'll see that in a minute. It's just going to take an extra couple seconds to do this job because of it. And that hose actually goes under the wire. So at first I thought, oh, does it go over and the wire goes under? It's like, no. The wire is over, the hose is under. Tried a few times. It's like, okay, I can see my mistake. I should have listened to myself. I should have went into the future, saw that this didn't work. Come back in the past, do it properly. So like I mentioned, the smart thing would be not to have put it back on. The wire and the harness and the clip. Just leave it off. But anyway, it's on now. If we can hook this side of it up on the intake, wiggle it around, push it all the way there, it's snug. Make sure our wires are all back. And this clip on the bolt, that's done. You can see the wires on top, just in case you're wondering. That way it's not snagging or pulling on something. Let's put back the rest of the wires as well. It's just a reverse order. And the harness is only so long. And the wires are only so long, so it's pretty hard to put the wrong one in the wrong spot. Plus, if you put all the anchors in that back end too, you'll find out if you're going the wrong way or not. This should just slide in there. Once you put your clips on, if it's on a connector, make sure you push that little red retaining lock back in. That one will fall out. Let's do this harness piece first here. It's got a clip or an anchor. It goes in that flat spot. Sorry. This is really hard. I'm kind of doing this all by feel. You'll have a good spot here right away to see what we're doing. I'm going to plug this one in and push the little clip in. And then the anchor goes on this body, it's the aluminum housing. There's also an anchor back here. And we just have two more connections. We have this one vacuum line, put that on, you don't want to forget that. And then we had this this other intake sensor. This one doesn't have the red clip. I don't know if it ever did. More videos on the Grand Caravan. There's a playlist to the top right hand corner if you want that. Appreciate that. Hopefully you're enjoying this. Thumbs up if you can help me out as well. Put this cover back on the engine. It's just to make it sound a little quieter. Probably where it's really hot out, maybe in the southern states, you may not want it on because it might actually retain heat instead of letting it go. I don't know how much quieter it is. You can subscribe if you'd like as well. There'll be some more information at the very end. Thanks for watching.